The man just touched her waist, and her pain instantly disappeared. Today is Jack's first day at his new school. Because his family is poor, he found a job as a door manager. The main character opened the door and called out a few times, but no one answered. When he opened the next door, he accidentally walked in on a girl taking a shower. Jack panicked and ran away in fear, only to bump into a girl coming out of another room. They both fell to the ground, and his hand accidentally touched her, just like that he was labeled a pervert. After getting beaten up, he introduced himself as the door manager. Only then did the girls let it go. Next, the senior girl introduced herself. Her name was Miyuki, a professional volleyball player, and coincidentally Jack's idol. The Tsundere girl beside her was named Aru, a basketball player with incredible athletic talent. Unlike Miyuki's warmth, Aru refused to accept Jack as the manager. She angrily turned and left. As the two continued talking, a sudden scream rang out. Jack rushed to check. It turned out Aru had twisted her ankle. Miyuki quickly called a teacher. Jack stepped forward to help. With just one touch, Aru felt an unexpected relief. But just as she relaxed, Jack told her her body had a problem, and she should not do intense exercise. But he had a family massage technique that could help her. After hearing that, Aru lay down. Jack examined her stiff muscles and noticed a hip joint misalignment, so he started massaging right away. His technique was surprisingly professional, making Aru feel incredibly comfortable. Soon the massage ended. Aru felt her body much lighter. As she thanked Jack, he offered to be her sports doctor. Aru agreed, but warned Jack not to get any weird ideas. Then Miyuki entered with the principal. He officially introduced Jack as the door manager for 5 girls. Besides Miyuki and Aru, there was Azumi the swimmer, Shio the billiards player, and Aoba the soccer player, but Jack felt they were not very friendly. The principal knew Jack was studying medicine, so he gave him a chance, as long as he cared for the girls' physical and mental health. Until graduation, then Jack began his door manager life. He first prepared food for the girls. Suddenly Aru started giving him a hard time, bringing up the time he saw her in the shower. Luckily Miyuki explained the truth. An angry Aru then said Jack touched her. Miyuki explained it was a massage, so Aru had nothing more to say. Jack promised to work hard. Then he started his second job doing laundry. Suddenly he found a pair of panties, and a girl hiding behind a tree saw it. She seemed to misunderstand. Jack ran after her to explain, but the girl ran faster and faster, until she ran into Aru. The guy accidentally found out his new stepsister from his parents' remarriage seemed to be badly strapped for cash. People had spotted her hanging around hotels all the time. On top of that, she dyed her hair blonde. She fit every negative stereotype of a troubled girl, so all the classmates assumed she sold her body for money. The guy didn't pay much mind to the gossip at first. Even though they were technically brother and sister, they'd only known each other for a few days. They barely even talked to one another. The next day during volleyball class, he noticed the girl looked totally down. He walked over to sit beside her. Everyone thought Jack would lecture her like an older brother. Instead, he just asked why she'd signed up for volleyball. Jenny told him honestly. She picked the class because it let them have free time. They didn't have to join team competitions. To both of them, that meant extra alone time, to do whatever they wanted. It turned out they thought exactly the same way. They headed home pretty early that day. Jack ran into his stepmom getting ready for work. That was when he learned she worked as a bartender. Before leaving, she asked Jack to look out for Jenny. After she left, Jack kept replaying all the rumors he'd heard. He was debating whether he should bring it up with Jenny. Just then, Jenny knocked and stepped into his room. She asked him for advice about something.
簡単に稼げる高額バイト知らない？お金は欲しいけど、あまり時間を使いたくなくてさ。1、2時間の拘束でサクッと1万円以上とか、どうかな？
Jack was shocked once he heard her question. High school students barely have any legitimate ways to make a lot of money fast.
やっぱり売るしかないか。売る？稼ぎたいなら自分を売るべしって書いてあったし。
After hearing what Jenny said, Jack was convinced all the rumors were true. He told Jenny she needed to value and take better care of herself. Jenny was confused by his words. She'd always taken good care of herself. She saw how odd Jack's expression was. She asked him if he wasn't also selling himself in a way. She brought up his library part-time job from the day before. Jack realized right then he'd completely misjudged her. He apologized sincerely to Jenny over dinner that night. Jenny didn't take the rumors too hard. The talk around school only started after she turned down a boy's confession. She figured that boy had spread all the lies on purpose. The way Jenny dressed now was to stop people from targeting her with rude comments about her looks and education. Her mom only graduated high school, and people constantly gossiped about her for it. That's why Jenny made up her mind. She wanted to excel in both school and work. She knew it would exhaust her, but she thought every bit of effort was worth it. After their long talk that night, Jack started to develop feelings for Jenny. The next morning on her way to school, Jenny had her headphones on. She didn't notice a car running a red light at all. Jack shouted a warning at the top of his lungs, but it looked like it was already too late. The girl never imagined that one accident would leave the two of them trapped in the same room. When Jack realized there was no exit, they had no choice but to wait. But Jenny quickly guessed this was probably a trap her mom set to push the two of them together. The next moment, a fancy meal was delivered to the room, and Jack instantly forgot about escaping. Jenny, however, said this was just her family's usual food, and walked away. But not long after, Jack heard Jenny scream. When he found her, she was hanging from the wardrobe, unable to get down. Turns out the little stool she stepped on had flipped over. Just as Jack stepped forward to help, Jenny suddenly jumped, landing right on Jack's face. The awkwardness froze the air for a moment, but Seconds later, Jenny collapsed to the floor with a leg cramp. While Jack massaged her leg, the angle accidentally exposed her, and Jenny turned crimson the instant she noticed. Soon after, Jenny went to take a bath, but Jack, sitting in the living room, heard her calling for help again. When he rushed into the bathroom, he found Jenny collapsed from lack of oxygen. After soaking for too long, Jack was completely speechless. A little later, Jack finally asked her why she kept getting into accidents in her own home. Jenny said it was her first time living with a boy, so she wasn't used to it at all. Her answer plunged the room into a long, quiet silence. Meanwhile, her mother was watching them through the cameras. Seeing them sitting silently, she immediately turned on the TV in the room. The sudden noise startled them, and Jenny instinctively grabbed Jack's arm, only for both of them to quickly jump back to a safe distance. Just then, the TV announced something surprising. Jenny was shocked, and her excited reaction made Jack even more worried. But the next second, Jenny looked straight at Jack.
何を想像してるんだか。
今エッチになってるでしょ。
なってませんが。
なってるくせに
And her mother burst into laughter watching the scene. She turned up the room's air conditioning temperature, and soon Jack felt so hot that he tried to turn it off, only to find the controls weren't working. That sparked yet another heated argument between them. While Mom was laughing so hard, she nearly fell over. Later that night, they decided to sleep, but Jenny suddenly came up with a rule. The next thing Jack knew, he was tied to the bed. Even his mouth was taped shut. Not long after, Jenny became so thirsty, she started searching for her water bottle. She mistook Jack's hand for the bottle's opening, and bit down hard. Jack couldn't make a sound, and just endured it. Then Jenny started licking his fingers, thinking she was touching the bottle. When she finally removed her eye mask, she realized she had been holding Jack's hand the whole time. Embarrassment hit her instantly. To cover it up, she quickly grabbed a real bottle and pretended to take a drink. She was the most invisible yokai in the world. Even though she knew children couldn't see her, she still hung upside down from the tree to scare them. Even though she couldn't stop couples from snapping branches, she still made a show of asserting her territory. She thought no one would ever see her until the day she died. But one day, she met a boy named Takashi Natsume. At that moment, Natsume was being bullied by other boys, who taunted him for not having parents. The tree spirit couldn't stand watching them pick on him. She swung her fist, shaking all the insects off the tree, sending the boys running in terror. She burst out laughing from the branches, unaware that Natsume was staring right at her. By the time she realized it, Natsume was already gone. To confirm whether the boy could actually see her, she purposely hung from the tree the next day to scare him. After getting solidly smacked by Natsume, she was certain he really could see her. From then on, she chased after little Natsume every day, popping out from everywhere just to frighten him. His fear became her greatest joy, but as they spent more time together, she slowly came to truly understand the boy. Having grown up without parents, and with a habit of telling ghost stories that scared his classmates, Natsume was labeled a weirdo. The tree spirit never imagined that just because he could see beings like her, Natsume had become an outcast in everyone's eyes. She tried to cheer him up, but all she got in return was a hollow response.
なんで俺なんかに構うの暇なの
She didn't understand human emotions, but seeing Natsume's lonely silhouette, she found herself frozen, unable to step forward. She couldn't figure out what else this human child was hiding inside. When Natsume returned to his foster uncle's house, he heard the familiar words again. The uncle didn't want him staying there any longer. Natsume had been passed around between relatives so many times, and now he was being abandoned once more. Perhaps out of guilt, the uncle handed him a worn shirt that his own son had outgrown. It was the first gift Natsume had ever received from a relative. Even though it smelled a little old, Natsume loved it. He slept with it in his arms, wore it even on scorching hot days, and proudly showed it off as something his uncle had given him. But the tree spirit appeared again at that very moment, and not only made a classmate trip, but also got Natsume's precious shirt dirty. That was the last straw for Natsume.
あっち行け俺が何したって言うの
After that, he never walked down that path again, as if he was deliberately avoiding her. The tree spirit, however, missed the days they had shared. She turned into a cat and went to Natsume's favorite spot, finally catching sight of him on the grass. Natsume didn't know the cat was her. He scooped her up in his arms. It was the first time the tree spirit had ever felt a human's warmth. Natsume said he envied the cat's solitary life. If only he could live on his own, maybe he wouldn't be passed around like baggage between relatives. For the first time, the tree spirit understood human emotions. She suddenly wanted to stay by Natsume's side forever. But something unexpected happened. A distant uncle came to take Natsume away. The moment she saw the ant's flashy appearance, the tree spirit knew Natsume wouldn't be happy there either. But she had no way to follow him, and so they parted without ever saying goodbye, a regret that never faded. After that, the tree spirit waited for Natsume every day. She tasted the snow of winter and watched the cherry blossoms of spring, but she never caught sight of him again. Slowly, she grew accustomed to being alone once more. When she saw a child fall down, she would sometimes turn into a cat to comfort him, but there was no other child in the world as gentle as Natsume. But just as she was lost in thought, Natsume suddenly appeared. After more than 10 years, he had grown into a young man, but he still remembered the tree spirit from his childhood. One day, the fall of a mysterious meteorite caused countless monsters to pour out, and humanity was powerless to fight back, slaughtered like cattle. Despite attempts to retaliate, all weapons, even nuclear bombs, were ineffective. Humanity was forced to retreat behind high walls, but a giant monster easily toppled the defense, and the monsters surged in like a tidal wave, rendering the soldiers' resistance insignificant. Even the mecha forces couldn't hold them back. Despair spread, and some were sent to underground shelters, but the monster attacks turned the shelters into death traps. By the time rescue arrived, the shelters had become slaughterhouses. In the midst of despair, the girl hiding in a box became humanity's last hope. She was taken to another city, but the monsters followed closely behind, and human civilization seemed doomed. Thus, the United Nations initiated the Fireseed Plan to continue humanity's civilization, sending a portion of humans into space to search for a new planet. Meanwhile, the billions left behind continued to fight the monsters until their extinction. When Takaru suddenly woke up, he found himself back in the world from 2 years ago. It seemed like it was all just a nightmare, but when he stepped out of his room, what he saw was a landscape of ruins and destroyed mechs. It was real. Takaru swore that this time, using his knowledge of the future, he would destroy all the monsters. Takaru sought out his former teacher. She was the deputy commander and a doctor at the base. Kazuki was unwilling to see him, and Takaru lost control, clashing with the guards. But when Kazuki arrived, she heard about the Fireseed Plan and allowed Takaru to enter the base. After an ultrasound scan, it was confirmed that Takaru was not a spy. Takaru confessed to Kazuki about his rebirth, explaining that in the future, he was forced to enlist, becoming a soldier fighting against the monsters. In the Fireseed Plan, he sacrificed his life. Now he had returned before the downfall, but in 2 months, the monsters would launch their final assault, and the only one who could prevent Earth from becoming a tomb was Dr. Kazuki. Kazuki frowned after hearing this, but agreed to help Takaru. Their goal was to shrink the core device of the Fireseed Plan 4, a system composed of 15 billion semiconductor parallel processing units. Only by completing this technology could they stop the launch of Fireseed Plan 5. Thus, Takaru was assigned to the 207 training squad, and he would once again fight alongside 5 female warriors, side by side against the monsters. This monster soldier discovered something strange. Overnight, all the veteran members of their monster group had been wiped out, leaving only weak foot soldiers behind. To stay alive, they had no choice but to sign a deal with the Dragon Ranger team. From then on, every Sunday, they had to cooperate, but Jack, a low-level soldier, never gave up on conquering Earth. That morning at the monster base, many monsters were discussing what kind of fake enemy they should send out this week, because to keep the audience interested, the Dragon Ranger team needed fresh designs to make money. Even the most creative monsters had run out of ideas. After all, there were barely any animals left on Earth that they had not already copied. At the same time, a broadcast announced the upcoming battle. The commentator tried to hype things up, saying the monsters would bring a secret weapon this week. As time ran out, Fighter G from the monster group proposed his plan. He wanted to use a muscular monster to handle this week's match, but the experienced chief planner gave his opinion. A design like that would not leave a strong impression on the audience. After hearing the plan needed changes, Fighter G sighed. If the old leaders were still alive, he would not have to struggle like this. At that moment, another fighter shared his idea. They could create a cat monster to attract the audience, but the planner said what they needed was a fierce monster that would scare children. Then Jack, who had been quiet, suggested using a tiger as the base. According to his memory, they had never used a tiger before, and there was a saying on Earth, even if they could not win now, they had to believe they would win someday. Their job was not to design monsters that would lose, but to create a plan that could win. Oh, there was some argument. In the end, they accepted Jack's idea. Fighter Z used an animal guide to design the tiger monster. Soon the weekend battle arrived. After years of operation, these fights had turned into a TV show. When everything was ready, the monsters arrived. The crowd's excitement reached its peak. People threw drink bottles at them, and right at that moment, the Dragon Ranger team arrived on the scene. Boy never imagined that the childhood friend he had loved for 16 years would fall for a quiet, reserved guy with glasses. She even learned how to dress up for him. Watching Mia desperately try to get closer to John, Jack felt furious and unwilling to accept it. But when Mia ran past him in tears, all that anger disappeared, leaving only concern for her. Jack and Mia had been neighbors since childhood. They grew up together and went to the same schools. Jack personally watched Mia transform from an ugly duckling into a swan, but he never expected that years of companionship would lose to love at first sight. Because of an absurd coincidence, Mia fell for an upperclassman named George. Even after George graduated, she studied desperately just to get into the same high school as him. This sudden third party hit Jack hard. To win Mia back, he started studying just as obsessively, using the excuse of asking Mia's brother to tutor him, and ended up hanging around Mia's house every day. But even with that much time together, Mia barely noticed him. Thankfully, nearly a year of effort paid off. Both Jack and Mia got into that high school, just in different classes, one in class 1, the other in class 3. After class 1 day, as Jack was about to ask Mia to eat together, he suddenly saw her getting along warmly with George. After that, Mia, who had never cared about her appearance, even started learning how to wear makeup. But just as Mia was changing herself for the one she loved, George was also changing for someone he loved. And that person, by cruel coincidence, was Jack's older sister. That made Jack feel even worse. Then he saw Mia sprint past him in tears, and moments later, heart-wrenching sobs came from the girl's restroom. Jack immediately understood. Mia must have seen it too. He wanted to comfort her right away. After careful thought, he decided to take her to see a newly released movie. But as soon as he stepped outside, he saw Mia playfully messing around with her brother. She didn't seem as devastated as he expected. Even the next day at school, Mia looked lively and cheerful. Jack finally relaxed a little, but his reaction didn't go unnoticed by his best friend, who immediately started teasing him, even pulling out secretly taken photos to mock him, saying he had the nerve, but not the courage. Jack instinctively tried to deny it, but the more he talked, the more guilty he felt. He really did like Mia, but Mia's heart belonged only to George. Even knowing George loved someone else, she still stayed up all night writing him a love letter, every word filled with a young girl's devotion. Yet just before Mia could give it to him, George witnessed the person he loved embracing someone else. It felt like a piece of his heart had been torn away, and sadness radiated from him. Still, when he saw Mia, he greeted her gently. Mia chose to confess anyway.
私は好きです先輩のこと好きです
慰めてくれなくても大丈夫ですよ。ありがとう。
そういうつもりじゃです
瀬戸口さんも暗くならないうちに帰った方がいいですよ。
George rejected her softly, but no matter how gentle the rejection was, it couldn't ease Mia's pain. She broke down crying again, clutching her head. From the shadows, Jack saw everything. He reveals his anger on George, but George was just another wounded person, so Jack let it go, quietly waiting for Mia to come home. He believed that since George didn't love her, as long as he stayed by Mia's side, one day, he would win her heart. The man ran his territory like a tower defense game. What was once an extremely barren little village, now had a ring of towering concrete walls. He even left space for firing ports and watchtowers. Hundreds of ballistae were packed in tightly. All of them were created with the widely mocked production magic, and it only took him a single day. With his near infinite mana, he could have made even more, but the village only had about 100 people. Making more weapons would be pointless with no one to use them. And even at this scale, the place was already a full military fortress. Deputy Commander Dave was completely stunned. He thought the Marquis obsessed with 4-element magic was foolish. If you had growth speed as terrifying as the MCs, who would still compete over individual combat power like other mages? Before building defenses, they actually focused on people's lives first. After all, he had already used production magic to build himself a massive mansion. Letting villagers keep living in broken huts felt wrong, so he personally stepped in and renovated every house in the village. He also referenced modern grid-style city planning, arranging all the houses neatly. That way, future expansion would be easier. Of course, he didn't forget to squeeze in time to generate a large public bath. After building for days straight, couldn't he at least enjoy himself a little? What he didn't expect was that the neighboring count's young daughter and the viscount escorting her were already on their way. His good days were still ahead. After waking up, the MC got back to work. This time, it was solving the village's water problem. Using the butler Espada's earth magic, a long canal was dug in an instant. Day and his men followed behind, carefully refining the rough edges magic couldn't reach. Finally, the MC used production magic to reinforce and strengthen the ground and walls. In less than a day, a canal connecting to the lake was completed. When the MC announced the gates would open, clear lake water rushed in instantly. Under the villagers' hopeful gazes, it stretched dozens of meters, and finally flowed into the moat by the walls. But the MC didn't get complacent. He immediately considered rising water levels in the rainy season, so he generated a reservoir outside the village. The villagers were beyond grateful. Before this, fetching water meant a long trip all the way to the lake. They never dared dream of having a moat or a reservoir. Once basic survival was secured, the MC began thinking about making money. The batch of weapons he produced earlier was the perfect option, even though they were made from ordinary wood. One light slash could split an adventurer's sturdy shield in half. Selling them would definitely bring profit, but the territory couldn't rely on the MC alone forever. The villagers needed livelihoods of their own, so he wanted ways they could also participate. Just then, Bolt returned with a cart of ore. It included copper and iron, and even small amounts of gold, silver, and mithril. The Meek immediately used production magic. Very quickly, he produced an iron nail to compensate Kusara for the broken shield. The Meek agreed to make him 2 swords, one short and one long. Since it was his first time using metal with production magic, he carefully felt the difference between metal and wood. He meticulously visualized every part of the short sword. Soon, a beautifully crafted dagger was born. Then he repeated the process and created a long sword dripping with style. Kusara was deeply moved. The other adventurers were instantly jealous. They all begged the MC to make weapons for them too. For the MC, it was trivial. He casually fulfilled their requests one by one. The butler, however, looked serious. As he stared at the mithril ore, he believed there shouldn't be such rich mineral deposits nearby. Otherwise, the exiled Meek would never have been given this land. The only explanation was that a new dungeon had appeared nearby. Any dungeon was an effectively infinite treasure vault. If the MC's Marquis' father found out, he would surely send others to take the rewards. So the MC decided not to explore for now. He would first turn the village into an unbreakable stronghold where no one could interfere. That was exactly why he worked day and night, to turn this tiny village into a fortress. Whether bandits or monsters came, their only fate would be getting turned into pincushions. Right then, a villager rushed over to report. A massive swarm of armored drakes was heading straight for the village. For the villagers, this was a life or death catastrophe. So many armored drakes were enough to destroy a city, but for the Meek this was a golden opportunity. He decisively ordered all gates sealed shut. His hundreds of ballistae were already starving for action. The man has a strange card drawing skill. Not only can the items he draws manifest in the real world, he can even draw cards infinitely without any limit. But the things he draws are always useless junk. Until Light used his card drawing skill one last time on the brink of death, a miracle happened. He actually drew a super rare made at level 9999, and that's not all. From then on, every random draw he made produced subordinates with at least several thousand levels, and every one of them obeyed his every command. It was then that Light realized the type of item he draws actually depends on the magic density in his surroundings. Unlike the surface where magic is sparse, he is now at the deepest level of the most dangerous dungeon. The magic density here is the highest in the world, and after gaining overwhelming power, Light's first act was to unleash his revenge upon the world. It turns out that ever since Light acquired this card drawing skill at age 10, his fate had been manipulated by invisible hands. In this world where humans are considered an inferior race, Light was fortunate enough to join the strongest team, with members averaging several hundred levels. His teammates not only didn't reject him, but had always taken great care of him. And so, 2 years of blissful days passed. One day, the team was assigned a dungeon exploration mission, but before they could go deep into the dungeon, Light was inexplicably kicked out of the team. It turns out his teammates had been acting from the very beginning, because Light's infinite card drawing skill was too abnormal. The higher-ups suspected he was the supreme of the human race, but after 2 years of surveillance, they had completely confirmed that Light was just a useless nobody, and now the order from above was to eliminate him to prevent future trouble. This series of twists caught Light completely off guard, but the reality was unfolding right before his eyes. He desperately tried to escape, but with only level 15 strength, there was no way he could escape from the strongest team. However, at that critical moment, he accidentally triggered a hidden teleportation trap in the dungeon. By the time his teammates reacted, he had already been randomly teleported away. Light was relieved to have finally escaped his teammates' pursuit, but he didn't expect to be sent to the dungeon's deepest level. Even worse, a level 1000 serpent-tailed hellhound had locked onto him. It was also Light's first time seeing this mythical creature. Since escape was impossible anyway, his only hope was his card drawing skill, and to Light's surprise, his final draw, made with his life on the line, actually brought forth a miracle.
我が主君に牙を向けるなどたとえ子犬とて容赦しません
This time, what Light summoned wasn't an item. It was a beautiful girl dressed in a maid outfit. Soon, Light learned her name was May. She was a super rare card with level 9999 in both healing and combat abilities. The first thing May did was heal Light's injuries. Then she pledged her absolute loyalty to him. This left Light feeling flattered and overwhelmed. He didn't believe he could summon someone of such high level. Seeing that Light didn't believe in himself, May boldly activated appraisal. She was shocked to discover that Light was heavily disguised. Without her high level, it would have been impossible to detect. Based on the appraisal results, May told Light that his infinite gacha was actually a divine skill. It's just that the draw probability changes based on the surrounding magic density. Previously, the surface had low magic density, so the chance of drawing a super rare card like her was basically zero. But in the dungeon's deepest level, it was the complete opposite. May originally thought Light had come here alone just to draw cards, but she didn't know it was all a misunderstanding. Light had no choice but to tell the truth, and unexpectedly, after he finished his story, the next second, May pulled him into her embrace.
どうか命じてください我がメイド道にかけ主湯の場で暴発の輩どもの首をライト様の前に並べてみせます
But despite the revenge being within easy reach, Light refused it, because he wanted to take revenge with his own hands. He planned to have May train him, and only after becoming strong enough would he return to the surface. The girl he liked only planned to stay for one night. In the end, they ended up sleeping together. Jenny took a bath at Jack's house. She felt more nervous than ever. She was excited to spend the night at the home of the boy she had a crush on. After her bath, she saw clothes Linda left for her, plus Jack's clothes to change into later. An idea popped into her head. She walked out wearing Jack's clothes. Jack grew shy seeing the girl he liked in his outfit. Jenny asked if she looked like she was wearing her boyfriend's shirt. Jack tried to stay calm and kept playing games. Jenny was not satisfied. She climbed onto his back. Jack pretended to push her away. She looked so charming that his feelings for her grew stronger. He made up an excuse to go upstairs and play games with his little sister. Bedtime came soon. Jack made a bed for Jenny. When he turned to leave, she grabbed his shirt. Both of them were stunned. Jenny plucked up her courage and asked him to stay and chat. Jack thought she must have feelings for him to be so bold. Still, he said he wanted to go back to his room to play games. Jenny told him they could play together. She would join him no matter what game he picked. Jack finally worked up his courage.
おうだな。せっかくミクがいるのに別のゲームなんてしなくても。俺たちには愛してるゲームがあったな。もう少しだけ一緒に遊んでやるよ。
Jenny looked shy but did not run away. Jack leaned close to her ear. He said running away meant losing, since she was the one who invited him. Jenny hesitated. She thought their behavior was a little improper. Jack stood up quickly and apologized. Seeing how awkward he was, Jenny suggested they keep playing their game. Jack put his arm around her shoulders and lay down on the bed. He held her hand and said whoever let go first lost. Jenny smiled and said she would never lose. Jack would not back down either. He held her tight and said they would stay that way until morning. Early the next morning, Jack heard his sister's footsteps. He woke up right away. To keep their secret, he headed to the living room first. He told Jenny to come down later. They blushed when their eyes met. Soon after, they shared sweet moments in the kitchen. Their bond grew much stronger after that night. They hugged warmly every morning before school. They had not officially confessed yet, but both knew they loved each other deeply. He's a 2-meter-tall little cat. Not only does he do laundry, cook, and clean, but he also helps his owner scrub her back when she's tired. And every morning, he wakes her up in a very immersive way. Since she had to work late again today, by the time she got home, the cat was sulking. Turns out he was mad she came home so late the fancy dinner he made had gone cold. After eating, Anna just lay down and went to sleep. The cat had to drag her to the bathroom. After putting on his full protective gear, he started scrubbing his owner's back. Then, while Anna was soaking in the bath, the cat also cleaned out her backpack. Seeing the lunchbox completely empty, he couldn't help showing a happy smile.
生き返った生き返ったあ、今日もお弁当美味しかったよゆきち毎日ありがとう
Every morning, the cat gets up on time. He makes a big breakfast and a lunchbox for Anna to take to work. He doesn't wake her up until 8 o'clock. With such a caring cat, no wonder Anna acts like going to work is going into battle. She lingers at the front door, refusing to leave, constantly complaining about the terrible things at her company. Then the cat gives her a warm hug, and decisively locks her out from the other side. After all, if no one goes to work, how will he get the money to keep him? After Anna leaves, the cat starts cleaning. He takes the quilt out to the balcony to sun. The warm sun is so comfortable, that the cat can't help but cat's son himself too.
ああ、珍しい。クマの敷物。
Noon is his rare free time. The cat enjoys afternoon tea while watching cooking shows on TV. He carefully writes down the recipes, then makes them in new ways for Anna. Afternoon is time to clean the bathroom, so Anna can take a nice bath when she gets home. Even though the water-fearing cat is fully geared up, he still inevitably gets splashed. Every day, just before Anna comes home, the cat prepares dinner in advance, so she can have a hot meal as soon as she walks in. But today, while the cat was happily waiting, the phone suddenly rang. Turns out Anna had to work late, so she told the cat not to make dinner for her. But obviously, she was too late. He had already made it. Just then, Anna was swamped with work. The cat called her.
もしもしあ、舌打ち
Kelvin never expected that after being reincarnated as an S-rank monster, he would have to abandon the idea of a second evolution. This way, even though he was treated as a little cat, he could still spend every day with Ellie. But what he didn't expect was for Ellie to suddenly be poisoned. And the antidote required the eye of an Earth Dragon. Without a second evolution, there was no way he could win against such a foe. Although evolving would mean losing the ability to transform back, Kelvin made his decision without hesitation. All of this started with a quest to hunt down a demon clan, a mission they accepted together. At first, it didn't seem difficult to Kelvin. After all, their party wasn't the only one involved. An S-rank Night Squad was also joining them, especially their captain, who had participated in the war between humans and the demon god. With such a team, this mission seemed like no big deal. The journey, on their way, the Night Squad discovered Kelvin was a rare elemental cat. This immediately sparked everyone's interest, and they all wanted to take turns holding him. Soon enough, they located the demon clan's base, but as they arrived, the demons spotted them too. The first wave was just a group of C-rank werewolves, which posed no problem for the Night Squad. Kelvin also had no trouble dealing with these creatures. In no time, he had eliminated them all, something Ellie never expected from him. But what they didn't know was that a demon was secretly observing them. Though Kelvin's strength was beyond the demon's expectations, the demon had already prepared a trap. The battle. Before long, the demon revealed himself, bringing with him several A-rank trolls. Just as Kelvin and the others were about to launch an attack, they fell into the demon's trap. A barrier split the group into 3 separate sections, making cooperation impossible. Kelvin, in particular, was deliberately singled out. 4 trolls surrounded him. He tried to fight back, and while his attacks were effective, the trolls' regeneration abilities were incredibly strong. To keep up, Kelvin had to attack continuously before their wounds could heal. The downside was that this consumed a lot of his magic power, but ultimately, he managed to survive the crisis. Meanwhile, the Night Squad faced their own battle. Their captain alone was enough to take down a group of trolls, often with just a single blow. Seeing his plan unravel, the demon made a desperate move. Before he was defeated, he managed to scratch Ellie's arm with his claws. Though the demon was eliminated, the group soon discovered Ellie had been poisoned, and not just any poison. It was the venom of an S-rank venom dragon, a deadly toxin. They rushed her back to the nearest town for treatment, but the results were devastating. Ellie only had half a day left to live. The only cure was the eye of an S-rank earth dragon. Even if they could face such a creature, finding its location in time was impossible. Kelvin's choice. Faced with such a situation, Kelvin knew what he had to do. The prosecutor tore open the girl's clothes, then threw aside the damaged pieces. She pressed her down on the examination table. The girl struggled desperately, but the prosecutor locked her hands in place and tore away her last shred of modesty, checking every corner for hidden weapons. The girl was a princess of a nation, so why was she treated this way? This is a world where everyone can use magic. Those without magic are called the magicless. They will be arrested by the army, even if she is just a newborn baby. Her mother screams in despair, yet the people around turn a blind eye, because the magicless can nullify magic. It has already endangered the nation's interests. All magicless must be eliminated. The mother breaks free from the soldier's restraint, and shields her child with all her strength. At this moment, the princess of the nation slowly walks over. The woman begs the princess to spare her child, but the princess urges her to give up. The mother angrily throws the baby bottle at the princess, but it is blocked by magic. The mother not only loses her daughter, she also bears the crime of attacking a royal. Yet the princess does not know she will suffer the same fate. At the princess's 16th inheritance ceremony, she walks into the inheritance chamber under the gaze of the nation. As the energy pillar rises higher and higher, the perfect machine suddenly malfunctions. The princess is locked inside the chamber. Then the prince steps forward laughing loudly. He tells the nation the secret that the princess is magicless. The queen unlocks the chamber and tells her daughter to run, but soldiers have already surrounded them. They seal the princess inside a magic barrier. The princess refuses to believe she is magicless. She takes one step forward and the barrier shatters. This is the power of the magicless to nullify magic. All the guards raise their guns at the princess. The princess draws her sword to punish the disrespectful soldier, but unexpectedly the guard opens fire. The queen blocks the bullet for the princess and falls unconscious to the ground. The princess is taken as a prisoner. Her fate becomes the same as the mother and child before. She too will be sent to the prison for the magicless, where endless torment awaited.
To prove that the tiger is the true king of beasts, Tam reincarnates as a tiger. But now, he's being watched. High above the clouds, a massive golden eagle locks onto him. Its wings stretch over 100 meters wide. Tam stares back, unblinking. The air grows heavy, tense. But the eagle doesn't attack. It lets out a long, piercing cry. then disappears into the clouds. It's waiting. For the moment, Tam becomes weak. Tam turns his gaze toward the botanical garden. Pink mist rolls through the air like it's calling him in. If a battle is inevitable, then he needs to grow stronger. Tam steps forward and enters the mist. Instantly, the fog wraps around him like it's alive. A wave of dizziness hits. His vision blurs. Poison! Tam forces his king aura to surge, pushing the toxins out of his body. But it's not enough. This poison targets the nervous system. Something is wrong. Tam scans his surroundings. The entire garden has mutated. Vines crawl like serpents. Tree trunks have grown eyes, watching him, tracking every movement. And the colors too bright, too unnatural. Glowing fruits pulse in the mist like they're breathing. Then, a vine explodes from beneath his feet. It wraps around his leg, thick, covered in barbed spikes. Tam slashes it apart, but the liquid splashes onto his fur, sizzling, corrosive. These plants aren't just poisonous, they melt flesh. Tam shakes it off and pushes forward, but more vines surge in, and from every direction. It's not just plants anymore. It's like the entire garden is alive. Tam keeps cutting, again and again, but there are too many. And then he realizes something. This isn't random mutation. This is a hive mind, a single will, controlling everything. Suddenly, the mist ahead begins to churn. A massive shadow slowly rises. Something is coming. 10 meters tall, a monstrous shape emerges from the fog. A giant, man-eating flower.
This strange scholar appeared on the road when the man was carrying geese. For a brief moment, the scholar's face turned into a fox's face. The man was terrified, but after running around the mountain paths for a long time, he somehow returned to the same place again. The scholar's hand was still pointing in the same direction. He meant for the man to carry him to the mountaintop over there. The man deeply regretted not listening to the hunter's warning. Never come to Goose Mountain alone. Just then, the scholar vanished into thin air. As the man looked around in panic, the scholar suddenly appeared inside his basket, sitting together with the pair of geese. To get rid of the scholar, the man had no choice but to obey his demand. The wind on the mountain grew stronger and stronger. Stones fell into the abyss without making any sound. The man was so scared that sweat poured down like rain. When he reached the mountaintop, he found that only a single goose feather was left in the basket. Then the scholar smiled eerily, and in his mouth were clearly the man's 2 geese. Yes, he had already eaten them. The scholar said that to thank the man, he wanted to hold a banquet. Before the man could agree, the scholar took out an exquisite food box from his mouth. Inside were delicacies the man had never seen before. The scholar poured a bowl of wine and invited the man to drink together. The wine rippled, and it turned into a vast, surging river. The man sat in a small boat, drifting and intoxicated by the water. Suddenly, a waterfall appeared ahead. The man in the boat fell straight down, and landed inside the scholar's mouth. Wait, it turned out all of this was just an illusion. The man drank the wine in one gulp. At once, his soul seemed to leave his body, as if it merged with the mountains and rivers. While enjoying the wine, the scholar suggested, "I have someone I love. Why not invite her out to entertain us?" He raised his head, opened his mouth, and pulled out a rabbit. The rabbit jumped onto a branch, and turned into a beautiful woman. For a moment, the man forgot his fear. He thought how nice it would be if he also had a beautiful wife. After a while, the scholar grew sleepy. Only then did the man realize that he was actually a fox spirit. When the fox spirit fell asleep, the rabbit suddenly told the man that she also had someone she loved, and wanted to meet him. She begged the man not to tell the fox spirit. The man nodded in agreement. The rabbit then raised her head, and a wild boar jumped out of her mouth. The man was confused. How could such a beautiful rabbit love such an ugly boar? The fox spirit yawned softly. The rabbit quickly created a screen, and continued drinking with the boar. The fox spirit was about to wake up, so the rabbit stayed by his side, and gently soothed him back to sleep. When the boar saw that the rabbit could not return for a while, he turned to the man and said, "Actually, I also have someone I love. I want to see her too. Please don't say anything." The man agreed once again. Then the boar spat out a swan. The swan danced gracefully around the mountains. The man was completely stunned. The woman the swan turned into was even more beautiful. The swan began drinking with the boar. Soon, the boar also passed out drunk, but the swan stood alone, sad and full of sorrow. The man went up to comfort her and talked with her for a long time. They felt like they had met too late. In the end, the swan asked the man to take her away. She said she could turn into a goose, and live in his goose cage. The suggestion tempted the man, but when he turned and saw the boar, he hesitated. He was afraid there might be something else hidden inside the goose's belly. Still, the man finally seemed to make up his mind. Just as he was about to escape with the goose, the fox spirit suddenly woke up. The boar panicked and quickly swallowed the goose back into his stomach. Before the man could react, the boar was grabbed, and swallowed back by the rabbit. Finally, the awakened fox spirit swallowed the rabbit in one bite. Everything felt like a fleeting dream. The fox spirit bowed to the man, then turned back into his true form, and left, carrying the man's injured leg with him. Before disappearing, he briefly turned human again. That look in his eyes seemed to have already seen through the man's hypocrisy. Did you understand this animated story? The girl, because of her terrifying appearance, every time classmates saw her face, they would flee immediately in fear. And the girl wasn't good at communicating, so the classmates all excluded and isolated her. But there was one exception. That was the campus heartthrob Jack. Jack would always take the initiative to greet Mary. Therefore Mary had always had a crush on Jack. This day the classmates wanted to play a courage test game together. After hearing that Jack would also participate, Mary immediately wanted to play along too, and her aura was very suitable for playing a ghost. After the game started, Mary arrived at the forest in advance. When she slowly looked for 2 classmates, they screamed and ran away. Then Mary began looking for targets again. Everyone who saw her was scared to death. Mary's role-playing was very successful, but this time while scaring people she encountered Jack. Jack asked Mary what she was doing. Mary shyly said she was playing a ghost. Jack thought Mary was an interesting person. The next day Mary saw a stray dog on the road. The puppy was soaked by rain and very pitiful. So Mary gave the umbrella to the puppy to block the rain. She herself got drenched in the rain and came to school. However, her appearance scared away classmates again. After returning to the classroom, she found that Jack had also been soaked by rain. At the same time, Jack also noticed Mary. After learning that Mary had gotten wet and had no replacement clothes, he took the initiative to borrow a set of clothes from other classmates, and then gave his own towel to Mary. Mary was very moved. After class, Mary prepared a box of milk for each person as thanks. Later, Jack and Mary learned through chatting that Jack had also gotten wet because of helping a puppy. It turned out they had both done the same thing in the morning, so the two made an appointment to go check on the puppy after school. The puppy had been abandoned here for a day and no one had adopted it, so Jack decided to adopt it. And Jack also said, if Mary wanted to see the puppy, she could come directly to his house. Mary said she would go see the puppy, but Jack shyly said, if you want to see me, you can also come directly to my house. This man imagined his body as water. Then he began swinging his arms. When the amplitude of his swing matched that of water, his attacks became more terrifying than a whip. With just one strike, Baki's skin was torn to shreds, but that wasn't the most lethal part. After returning home, he found himself poisoned. Within just a few days, Baki's face lost all color. Kojo quickly pulled open his clothes. His once muscular physique now resembled a mummy, as if he could die at any moment. Soon, news of Baki's poisoning spread throughout the entire Tokyo fighting world. Inside the hospital, he lay on his bed, barely alive. Even the divine healer, Momiji, admitted she could do nothing. She told Kojo to prepare for the worst. It was already a miracle that Baki was still alive. Ryuko's palm strike had not only torn his skin, but also injected a massive amount of toxins into Baki's body. Now, everyone could only pray for him. But unexpectedly, the next day, Baki escaped from the hospital and returned to his own home. When Kojo confronted him, he simply said calmly,
もういい。これは俺の戦いだ。
The next day, Baki took Kojo to visit his old friend, Kosho. The moment they met, Gyokyuin noticed something wrong with his body. He asked Baki to take off his clothes. After seeing the damage the toxins had done to his body, Kosho turned around and grabbed 2 jars of herbal medicine from the shelf. He then poured the contents into a bowl and began mixing. Soon, a bowl of refreshing medicinal concoction was ready. Baki picked up the bowl and downed it in one gulp. Though the herbs couldn't remove the deadly poison from his body, they did help improve his mental state. In what might be his final moments, Baki just wanted to spend them with the one he loved. But just as he believed he was beyond saving, Retsukeo came to see him. Seeing that his old friend had come all the way to visit him, Baki moved forward to embrace him, but the next second, Retsukeo threw a punch, knocking Baki unconscious. Just as everyone was utterly confused, a helicopter from China landed deep in the mountains. Determined to save Baki, Retsukeo decided to take him to China. The helicopter crossed thousands of mountains and rivers. After several hours of flight, they finally arrived at their destination by evening. When Baki opened his eyes, he found himself in an entirely unfamiliar environment. Meanwhile, Retsukeo pleaded with his master, hoping to give Baki a chance to participate in the ring tournament. The abbot initially wanted to refuse, but upon learning from Retsukeo that this young man, though heavily poisoned, had once defeated his disciple, the abbot decided to make an exception and give him a chance, but with one condition. Baki would have to defeat a Sea King. The woman taps her finger lightly on the man's arm. A blue gemstone appears on his skin the next second. She pours 80-degree hot water over the gem. The young man's arm begins to swell rapidly. The woman doesn't seem surprised by this. She takes out a steel needle about 30 centimeters long. Then she presses it hard into the blue gem. The needle goes straight through his entire arm. Soon, the needle begins to change. It forms a kind of restraint. This finally stops the mutation in the young man's arm. Just one day earlier, Jack was an ordinary high school student. Everything changed because of an explosion. Jack wasn't hurt in the blast, but after he stood up, energy from the explosion center splashed onto his arm. Then something strange happened. It looked like a centipede burrowed into his skin, but it disappeared quickly. At first, Jack thought it was just his imagination. He didn't think much of it. He saw someone still alive in a nearby train car. Jack ran over to try and save the person, but before he could reach them, a sharp pain shot through his arm. He looked down. A blue gem had suddenly grown on his arm. It vanished again soon after. Now Jack realized this wasn't his imagination. But right then, checking on the injured girl seemed more important. Unexpectedly, the girl, now barely alive, touched Jack's forehead with her finger just before dying. The next moment, a strange mask appeared on Jack's face. Jack panicked and tried to tear it off, but no matter how hard he pulled, it wouldn't come off. As an unknown liquid enveloped him, he completely transformed into a monster. Soldiers arriving to investigate saw this. They thought Jack caused the explosion, so they opened fire on him. But as he fell, his girlfriend heard the monster cry for help. Jack's wounds began healing rapidly. The soldiers aimed their guns at him again. His girlfriend rushed forward. She struck one soldier with a chop to the neck, then followed with a flying kick to take him down. Shortly after Jack was saved, a giant ball of flesh fell from the sky. A terrifying monster crawled out of it. Bullets had no effect on it. Even tank shells couldn't hurt it. The monster began firing lasers around. It split the school in half with one blast. The monster's target was Jack. Jack wanted to protect his girlfriend, but still unfamiliar with his new body. He almost got her killed. Luckily, the monster was nearsighted. That's how both of them survived. But before they could catch their breath, the monster attacked Jack again. Jack used his agility to cling to the monster's nose. This made the monster even more furious. It slammed into walls repeatedly, with Jack still on it. Just as Jack was about to be crushed, he leaped high into the air. The confused monster kept charging, and crashed headfirst into a building. Jack fell from the sky, but with each impact, he grew more used to his new body. The recovered monster continued chasing him. This time, it attacked with lasers from its back. After a huge explosion, Jack was completely unharmed. He had unlocked a new ability during the fight. His arm transformed into a shield that could block any attack. Then Jack began to fight back. He charged toward the monster at high speed. He jumped into the air and punched the monster hard in the head. The monster roared in pain and threw Jack off. Then it launched indiscriminate attacks across the whole area. The city was on the verge of destruction. Jack leaped down from a high place, ready to face the monster directly, but their strength was too uneven. The monster pushed Jack back again and again. Just as Jack was about to collapse, he shaped his arm into a long blade, hoping to strike a heavy blow, but the monster gave him no opening. It slammed Jack hard into the ground. When all seemed lost, Jack's girlfriend ran to him again. She began to encourage him, urging him not to give up. With her support, Jack gradually adapted to his new form. Holding his girlfriend with one arm, he defeated the monster single-handedly. The monster slowly turned to stone, but Jack showed no sign of stopping his attack. Just then, a girl descended from the sky. She froze Jack in place. Jenny secretly used a stun baton to knock Jack unconscious. Then she tied him up in a room and pulled out a 130-foot-long blade from her waist. When Jack woke up, Jenny inserted the steel blade into Jack's palm. Watching Jack scream in agony, Jenny thoroughly enjoyed it. However, just as Jenny was about to kill Jack completely, a mysterious rune appeared on Jack's palm. The next second, the blade tip reversed and stabbed into Jenny's body. Jack was terrified and fled from there in panic. However, shortly after he left, Jenny's eyes suddenly snapped open. Like nothing had happened, she stood back up. She pulled out the blade stuck in her body, and the wound healed rapidly at a visible speed. At this moment, Jenny finally realized that Jack, like herself, was a special person chosen by the gods. Killing him wouldn't be that easy. So Jenny kidnapped Jack's sister and set up an inescapable trap all around. When Jack arrived, Jenny stabbed the steel blade into his sister's shoulder right in front of him. Blood instantly stained her clothes red. Seeing Jack's anguish, Jenny kept mocking him, but she had no idea just how terrifying Jack truly was. Facing countless incoming bullets, not only was Jack completely unharmed, he even used his ability to command Jenny to heal his sister. And Jenny's body, as if beyond her control, actually used her healing ability on Jack's sister. This was Jack's special ability. Within this domain, any person or object must obey his commands. Jenny tried to resist, but was controlled by a monster summoned by Jack. Then several spiked wires appeared from inside the monster and bound Jenny tightly. The spike head slowly pierced into Jenny's body. As punishment for hurting his sister, Jack would make Jenny obey his commands forever. Jenny had never suffered such humiliation. After breaking free from her restraints, she grabbed the knife and slashed at Jack, but at the critical moment, she simply couldn't bring herself to do it. Jenny knelt on the ground in agony, unwilling to accept this. At this time, Jack gave Jenny two commands. The first was that she could never harm him or his family. The second was to marry him and become his wife.
誰があんたなんか
Jenny was firmly controlled by the spike restraints and had no power to resist. In the end, she could only let Jack do as he pleased.
必ず殺すわ。
殺す気満々じゃねえか。